Welcome to the Dirthead Shed. We got to go pick up a pretty rad project that doesn't run. Drag it back into the shop, get it ready for a trip. Not that one. There it is. What on earth did I get myself into? First project in the Dirthead Shed, and it's kind of a basket case. All right, there it is. We got this thing in the shop. We saw it getting drug over here. Here it is. This is an early Bronco based like rock buggy. It's a really cool rig. It belongs to a friend of mine named John. He had this thing built a few years ago. All the tube work and chassis work and all that stuff was built at a place called Hazard Fab Works, and they did a killer job. It's like a really neat rig. But what's happened is it was having some drivability, some fuel injection issues and stuff like that. And I have known of this truck really for the last like 5 years, and it hasn't run. So my buddy John is trying to take this on this trip called Sierra Trek, where they're going to be running Ford Ice Trail up in the Sierra Nevadas in California, and that is next week. So it's time for me to take over on this thing and get it prepped and ready to go for that trip. Not having run in 5 years is going to be a challenge. We're going to have problems in the fuel system. He didn't like the fuel injection system that was on it, so it's got a Holley Truck Avenger on it now, which isn't plumbed or set up at all. So I got to get in here, figure out where he left off, where I got to pick up, and what we got to do to get this thing ready to go on a pretty rad trip in a pretty short amount of time. I guess the first step is just sort of assess what has been done and where we're picking up at. First thing I noticed was plug wires that are burned. That's not good. We got a hole right through there, right to the terminal. So my goal right now is just do whatever I got to do to fire this thing up and hear the engine run. Once I can hear it run and I know that we don't have a huge problem on our hands, then we can come back and we can fix stuff properly, like plug wires and proper fuel system and all that. But first things first, I want to hear this engine run. So throw some electrical tape on this spark plug boot, get the plugs on, figure out what doesn't have nuts and bolts on it that should, and then get a gas can and a hose and a fuel pump on this puppy and crank it over. All right, we got our little fuel system hooked up. That's going to the fuel pump down there, and then fuel pump to a filter to the carb. I've got the ignition wired up to the coil. Everything's sort of temporary, but we're gonna go see if this thing will crank and see if it'll fire. I don't know if you know this, but I'm really not an engine guy. But I need to see if I can get it at least to fire up a little bit and get fuel up there. All right, I have stabbed that distributor, changed plug wire orientation. I've fired it up and backfired out the carb, and now I've spun it back 180. So we're about to see if this thing will fire up. Sure the timing is all out of whack, but I think we're in the ballpark. All right, crank it up, see what it does.
It's hot, rub position.
Got all sorts of new stuff going on the engine. We did plug wires and cap and rotor and restabbed the distributor. Buttoned up a bunch of stuff and it's ready to run. Before I get on to the fab stuff, I want to go ahead and run it around the block, make sure this carburetor is actually going to work on this truck when it's under load and stuff. So fire it up, John. It has a little bit of an exhaust leak, but I think right now we're just stoked to have this thing running. Gosh, it looks cool. Too long that thing hasn't run. So we did our test drive yesterday and the thing runs and it goes down the road, but it was flooding out and super rich. So we had come over to my friend Scott Hansen's shop and we're going to be doing some dyno tuning on it. He's got all the gear, dyno jet. See if we can make this thing run right. Session done. We pulled a little bit of jetting out of both primary and secondaries. We pulled the vacuum advance off the distributor. We retimed it. This thing is running pretty good now. John's going to go and load it on the trailer. Don't run over the charger. Seems like it's gonna run. Had a little flat hiccupy thing at the bottom there, but whatevs. We made it back from the dyno session. This thing actually runs now and makes a little bit of power. I think the next thing on my list is a spare tire carrier. It has this big honking plate here and a receiver, and I just gotta make a deal that slides into that and will hang the spare tire. So I'm gonna go over there to the welding bench and I'm gonna see what I can come up with. I just cut that with the plasma cutter, and I used an old chop saw wheel as a guide. And that thing is clean. I'm just gonna bust out a little bit of sanding on it, get the slag off, and then we'll do some hole drilling and make it to where that bolts to the inside of the wheel. Alright, I got the plate made. It's 1/4 inch, like mild steel plate. Drilled some holes. I drilled them a little bit large because I knew I'd screw it up a little bit in the drill press. And now I've got 7/16 fine thread grade 8 bolts through here with like a regular lug nut on the other side, and that's how I'm going to make my spare tire mount. Basically, you tack the head of those bolts in there to the back side of the plate. You use the wheel as the fixture so that everything is straight. This is just a spare 8-lug wheel that I had. If I got some welding sparks on it, I'm not really too worried about it. That way I'm not like screwing up John's nice wheels that he has for the Bronco. Anyways, that's my plate. That's my starting point for the spare tire carrier. I'll get these guys welded all the way on, and then we'll figure out like a piece of 2-inch square tube that comes off of that and sits in that receiver on the back of the truck at the right depth. That way the tire is sort of close, but not so tight that you can't get it on and off. All right, let's see if this thing works on that thing. The dog is tripping out. Chill out, doggy. Sweet. All right, I'm in the shop. It's a couple days later, but I kind of have this tire carrier mount buttoned up. This is that round plate that I made, those studs that are in there and welded up. It's got the 2-inch square tube on it now. It's gusseted it in, so it's pretty strong. Right now I just got to drill the hole for the hitch pin to go in it, cut the end of the tube off so it looks all flush and awesome, and then I will show you how it looks with the tire hanging off the back. This Bronco's just about done, but it's not going out without a fight. Check it out. This is called a finger mount or a fifi. Sort of an old school desert racer trick for mounting things to a chassis. All right, we're reining it in. Matt's out here helping out, trying to get some of the wiring sorted out. You can see the new carburetor's in place and distributor and all that. And this is the bar that I was working on. You saw me bending it up and then making those finger mounts. This is kind of how it works when it's all said and done. I got the front side welded easy and then took it off so I can weld the back. This is gonna end up going in right here. That just sort of spans the shock towers so that the chassis doesn't flex so much up there. We're almost done with this thing. A couple more things on the list, and we're gonna go test drive it again. Hopefully it's better this time. All right, 8 days in on this Bronco, and it's done. Yesterday we hustled. I had my buddy Matt and the owner John on this thing all day. We worked from like 8 in the morning till about 10 o'clock last night, and was able to drive it down the street, and the thing drives so good. Check it out. There's a bunch of stuff on here that you guys probably didn't see because I didn't do a very good job of documenting everything. But last night we got the hood on it. We got a whole bunch of wiring buttoned up underneath the hood, a new battery and a bunch of repairs on wiring. I was able to come in here and double shear this pitman arm, make that thing stronger. It's kind of hard to see it because it's black, and should have left it bare steel so it looked better on camera. There was a bunch of work on this 3-link where it had negative caster, meaning that steering knuckle was like leaned forward. And when you drive it with it leaned forward, the things are squirrely. So it never drove very well. So I was able to like adjust these 3-link bars and get the caster back to 5.2 degrees, which is not the best, but it's good enough. I had some other issues when I did that the drive shaft was binding, so I did a whole bunch of clearancing with a file and Dremel in here. Got that all sorted out. I had to limit the down travel a little bit with a shorter limit strap, but all in all, there were some compromises on it, but I think they're all good ones. I'm gonna get in here and like make sure the front wheel bearings are tight and there's no water or nothing in there. And then we're gonna load this on the trailer and head to the off-road park. I am stoked. This thing drives down the road finally, and it drives well, so you can't complain about that. Out of the shop and in the dirt. This thing made the drive out here to the off-road park, like 15 miles away or so. Totally good so far. The off-road park. John is coming up in the Bronco here in a second. Matt's out here with his cool dent side Ford, showing what it's all about. This truck is really cool. You've probably seen it like on every page on Instagram. It turned out so good, and he's been taking it out wheeling a bunch. How the Bronco does. There it is. We got a little tire rubbing going on the front, but I think we're doing pretty good considering. The old Bronco truck thing is out here doing four-wheeler stuff, getting stuck. John didn't air down. Trying to remember what shifters did what in the old Mas Grande. It's kind of pathetic that I don't get to wheel it that much. This is kind of a cool little sort of rocky draw hill climby thing. Let's see how John's Bronco is doing with it. I think this thing is going to work fine. It's just a matter of figuring out what gears the transmission likes and stuff like that. This is our little local rock pile. It's kind of a cool little spot. It's at the local off-road park, but you get at least to test your stuff out before you head out to the Rubicon or wherever you're going. There we go. Doing some cool Rockcrawler things. Nice. Go park it in the shade so we can straighten the tie rod out. Well, there it went. The old Bronco is off to run Ford Ice Creek Trail and have some fun out in the woods. I gotta clean up this mess and pull my Jeep in here and get it ready for ultimate adventure. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna keep hustling.